Hi, I'm DJ Ware. On this episode of the CyberGizmo, I'm going to be showing you a look at some networking tools that will kind of help you collect some statistics and give you an idea of what's going on with your network right after this. So I thought today we'd kind of go through and share with you some ways that if you're trying to find out where's the traffic on your network going, how much of it is flowing through your network. Maybe you've had some slowdowns, or maybe there's some issues that you're just not quite sure what's going on, and you want to see what the performance is overall with the system. Maybe it's just between two endpoints. Maybe it's through a router. Maybe it's through a network segment. Maybe it's through a VLAN. But whatever it is, there are ways that you can use Linux to collect the data that you might want to look at. So that's what we're going to do today, is look at a couple of different tools that are used in this environment in order to help us figure out what's kind of going on with the network. So what I'm going to do today is I'm going to start out with probably the most basic of all of them, and that's Netstat. So Netstat, if I just do one by itself, and I'll just pipe it to more. It puts out a ton of information about what's going on with the system, and some of this is useful. But if you're trying to collect statistics, this is probably not the best tool for it. And I'll explain why. So the first group here is, you can see kind of a general thing that's going on. You know that these are the protocols that are in use. There are several here, but the two that are displaying here at the moment are TCP and UDP. The transmission control protocol and the user datagram protocol. So we'll also see that this is the receive and send queue. So I can see the traffic. I don't know if that's packets, but you don't know that, right? Because you don't have any idea of what that value actually means the first time you look at this. So you have a local address, the foreign address, and these are the port numbers on the client side that's communicating to the server side on 49152. Now I happen to know that port is Gluster, and so I have a Gluster client on Black Ice that's accessing. It's connected to a volume that's on the Gluster server, and anytime you read or write to that particular cluster, you do it through the file name, and it will fire the command across to all the servers that are managing that particular volume. But anyway, this is the state, and you can see this in various different pieces. So right now we're through the handshaking stage, and this one, OBS, has a closed wait. Now, it has a closed wait. This one probably went out, I'm guessing. It probably went out to check to see if there was a new version of the application. But there's a closed wait because OBS is still up. And so it won't disappear and won't be released until the application terminates in this case. And then you got some other information down here about the streams, the datagrams, the connections and stuff that are going on, and then these are file paths over here. But let's see it's not really that helpful, right? But Netstat, you can continuously display stuff that's going on. I'll back up the screen a bit here, and then you can see that it's just piling that same data to my screen over and over again every 2 seconds. Not very readable and not very helpful. So I can combine a watch command with it, and I'm going to trigger the command every 2 seconds, which is what the -n means. And then the command I'm going to trigger is netstat. And this time I'm going to limit the display that comes back. I only want to see TCP and UDP protocols. Okay, I got it. So in this case, that's pretty much the front part of the netstat command, except much more readable, right? And it's refreshing this display every 2 seconds. And you can watch the second counter right here if you don't believe me. It is refreshing every 2 seconds. There's just nothing changing, right? Nothing going on. Now, I could generate some traffic, maybe a little bit. but unfortunately, I'm on the wrong side of it. Right, I'm monitoring it from the standpoint of send and receive queues. So I'm really on the wrong side of the connection here. So if I wanted to monitor what was really going on with Gluster, I'd be on one of the server sides. Now, what other choices do I have here? So I'm going to add a couple of things to that. I want to find out the listening ports. I want to find out the processes that are generating that connection, and that's what I want to know. So let's add some other stuff to this. We want listener, processes, and we also want to know with the open files. So now I've got some information here about not only I have TCP/4, IPv4, I also see some traffic on IPv6, and also UDP and UDP6. This is giving me a lot more information, a better breakdown about what's going on. So this is better. It's still not really showing me the kind of information I would want to know if I was trying to collect data, but it's good to know to be able to see that, hey, I've got a CUP server running. Maybe I don't want a CUP server running. I also have cronid running. Maybe I would prefer using NTP instead of crony. But, the kinds of things that you can look at here are pretty good. I mean, this is pretty good, but in honesty, if you're trying to collect statistics, Netstat can be very frustrating to use. Now, one of the tools that a man by the name of Paul Warren wrote, and he's with Parrot, back in 2002, I think it was a command that was similar to htop called iftop. And you'll have to install it. So it is in the repositories for Debian and Ubuntu. If you're on Red Hat or Fedora, you will need to install the EPEL repos in order to get it. So, yeah. For those of you that don't know, you would do, I'm in root, so you would do an install iftop. And it's already there. So let's just bring it up by itself and see what it kind of looks like. Nothing happening yet, but give it a second. It'll collect some data here in a minute. There it goes. All right, so right away you'll notice there was a white bar that went flying across the screen. What is that about? So this white bar here and here is referring to this data bar here. This is kind of a measurement bar of the active amount of traffic that's going across, and it gives it to you kind of depicted that way. So let me try to get some data going across so we can actually see that lasting for a while. So I'm pegging this and about 931 meg. So it went way up here in order to do that. And it just finished up. So that's kind of nice. And this is called a 2-line display. So I can see the data that's flowing from me to Fermi and to Blue Ice and everywhere. I can also see the data that's coming back. And over here, so you have this is the source name, destination name. I'm not showing any protocols here at the moment, but I can turn those on, the port. I can turn on the port display, and that'll show up right here. And so now I'm seeing the port displays that's going on. You'll notice that some of these are coming up with English names. Now you can control that. I can tell it that I want it to display, instead of the port number, display the port name. And it uses the Etsy services directory to do that, or services file to do that. So if the port is listed in the services file, that's where it does its lookup. It also does the DNS lookup on the IP address, so you know which host it is. You can turn those things on and off. This column of 3 out here is the traffic that's occurring on the network within the last 2 seconds. This one is the last 5. This is the last 10. So you have kind of an accumulative total that flows across as you want to look at the system stats. And down here you have a cumulative. Now, if you're wondering, sometimes you'll find that this doesn't add up. And it won't add up if you have filters in place. So it will continue to see the data and collect it, but it just won't add it to the totals on the screen because you have a filter that says that you don't want to see it. But these are still the cumulative transmit and receive, and the total, that is still a cumulative total of the traffic that has flowed through the network, whether or not you were wanting to see it or not. And then this would be the peak, what happened at the peak traffic. And then these are just the rates in a cumulative format for the 2, 5, and 10-second columns. That's it. Pretty simple, right? So what can we do with this? So the first thing you can do is you can hit H and go to help. So there's a host display that toggles if you want the DNS resolution on or off. You use an N, lowercase n. You toggle the source address off if you don't want to see that. Of course, it's always the same, so whether or not you want to have it on the screen or not, that's up to you. And then if you want to, now this one you probably won't use because you probably do want to see the destination host. And then there's this thing called cycle line display mode. What the heck? Let's go back and let's just play around with some of these. So first, hide the host, the source host. But you notice that it'll still, so this is kind of like the Netstat command, where it's showing you that, I assume that this is my local host, but I'm still seeing the port numbers. So I can turn it back on. I can do the same with the destination host. I can just get rid of those. Not very helpful, though, because I don't know where the data's going. So, and the other thing I can do is T. A T will allow me to change how this display looks. So let's just walk through them. So this is my default display, the 2-line mode. Then you have a 1-line, and this is both now receive and send traffic bundled together. It's not split out anymore. So let's go ahead and fire some data across, and you'll notice that my white bar will start to move across the screen this way. All right, let's look at another one. So now I'm seeing just the traffic that's being sent from Blue Ice. Now I'm seeing the traffic being sent by Black Ice. And now I'm back to my 2-line display again. So not bad, right? Not bad. The only thing I didn't show you was the DNS resolution. I mean, here, I'll do that. There's your IP addresses. Turn it off, turn it on. No big deal. Port display, I can toggle the service resolution or not. Now, in my case, it's not really going to matter because I don't have the Gluster host defined in my services file. But yeah, so the only thing it would really do is if there happened to be any SSH traffic, it would show that. So I don't think there's really need to go through those. Sorting, I can sort by these columns here, but I'm going to have to get some data in them first. And we'll sort by column 3. So we're wanting to see the column 3 data first. And then you can move it to column 2, move the sort pattern to column 2, move it to column 1. One of the other things you can do, let's fire this off again. So we've got some data flowing. Whoa, I'm going to stop it because I want to take a look at this for a second to see exactly what's going on. And maybe I've got a really busy network, and maybe the thing I was interested in flickered up here for a second, and I need to stop the display. So yeah, it allows you to do that. You can turn the bar, if you don't like the bar graph, that little white bar that's going across, you can turn that off. You have control over the cumulative if you want to toggle those on or off or not. So you have some filters now, and these are kind of helpful to kind of narrow down. If you got a lot of hosts and you got a lot of stuff and you really don't care about all the other traffic, you're trying to concentrate on a particular problem with a certain host, and you've narrowed it down that far. So the first thing you can do is you can do a L. An L is a screen filter, and the screen filter works by the host name. So let's say that the only thing I want to see is that host. So the rest of them gone. So now let's generate some traffic. That will, Let me put the slash in front of it, and it'll probably help a lot more. There we go. So now all of a sudden I saw the traffic flying across there for that. Now I could have paused it and that, but you'll notice that these are still tracking and these are still tracking, right? These are still tracking up on the totals. To get rid of that, let's go back to that. Let's say I don't want that anymore. Let me get my host back again. So yeah, what if though I want to limit this to a certain port, and I'm not interested in anything else? Let's say that way. I'm interested in that 24007 port there. So in this case, this would be a net filter. Oops, not that one. It's an F. And I would put in the port number. Got to wait for it again because it went away. Here we can, it'll fire up, so we'll make it come back. Maybe we'll make it come back. I think that one only statuses it to see if the peers are up every once in a while. But let's just take. Let's try 123 on that side. Just saw it come up, so let's do that one. There's my two guys right there. So it just took it a second to catch up, but eventually it did. I don't know how long that list stays there on the screen, but I basically just waited until it disappeared. And so, yeah, and so my net filter, which is right here, is showing 2407. So let's see. I don't know how long that'll take for it to come back. Let's clear it. Let's see how long it takes before it will show up again. I'm just not sure. I'm just going to let it run. There it is. So yeah, it does take a few seconds before it responds to the filter commands. I was thinking it should be like TCP dump, where it really goes like right now. So yeah, but there is some delay there that happens, some lag that occurs before it actually shows it. So that is pretty much what I wanted to show you today. It's just one possibility that you can use. There are certainly other tools, and like I said. Well, if you've got a favorite network tool that you use, put it in the comments below. I'd love to know about it and share it with the other people that are here. I'm not a network engineer. This is just things that I have picked up to use on my own in order to diagnose network problems here, because we all have to be sysadmins of our own networks, right? Unless you happen to have somebody that's doing that for you, but. And if you do, good for you. But network problems can be very frustrating at times because there's not, all you know is you see some cryptic error message, or maybe you see some indication that something just slowed down and you don't know what caused it. So tools like this are at least the first step in diagnosing where at least to go next to try to figure it out, what's going on with the system. And so anyway, I hope you enjoyed this today. If you did, please like and subscribe. As always, hope to see you again real soon. And as always, bye for now.